Hello everyone, welcome to soundproofguide.com. In this video, I'll talk to you about how to soundproof a room cheaply. Whether you're looking to soundproof a room due to noisy neighbors from an adjoining wall or outside noise coming from a window, there are many ways you can get the job done cheaply or even for free from items you already have in your home. I will talk to you about how to soundproof a room the DIY way because let's face it, most of us attempt to do these things like this ourselves. Of course, you can't expect a full 100% soundproofing whether you go with a professional or you go for a DIY. Once you apply, however, more than one of these methods that I will be talking about in this video, you might be surprised at the results. This is why it's fun to learn how to soundproof a room cheaply with items you already have within your home. So without further ado, let's begin with number 1. Soundproofing a room with sound absorbing material. There are many sound absorbing material you can utilize in your efforts to soundproof a room inside your home. Some will say that you can't soundproof a room using sound absorbing materials. I would have to agree with those claims, but you should also realize that you need to begin by making the inside of your room quiet. The very first step you should take when soundproofing a room is to eliminate the echo. If you're inside the room and all you hear is the noise bouncing around from wall to wall, well, that doesn't make for a very peaceful place to relax or get some work done. The first sound absorbing material you could use are soundproof blankets. You might be wondering what exactly would someone use a soundproof blanket for and why? Well, the answer to this one is simple. The use of a soundproof blanket is to help block and absorb sound. You can pretty much use them for everything you can imagine within soundproofing a room. Soundproof blankets have many uses and styles depending on how you're going to incorporate them inside the room you're trying to soundproof. You might want to use the blanket to help block street noise or noisy neighbors by hanging them over the window. There are different blankets for different uses. You can buy some less expensive moving blankets. They are very dense and also cheaper than your actual soundproof blankets. These moving style blankets will assist in drowning out higher decibel noises. Quilted soundproof blankets will work on getting rid of lower decibel tones. These types of blankets are either made from quilted fiberglass or polyester. These types of materials greatly help in stopping sound from bouncing across the room. Another sound absorbing material, and also one that also helps block noise, is soundproof curtains. Putting up a set of soundproof curtains is a sure way to soundproof your window when trying to learn how to soundproof a room. Soundproof curtains work a lot like its blanket counterparts in reducing noise and absorbing sound. You might think that a simple set of curtains could solve your noise issues in your home. There are two benefits. As with the sound absorbing blankets, the curtains will not only block a degree of noise coming from outside the window, but it will also act as a sound absorber within the room you're soundproofing. The soundproof curtains I always come back to are from the company Nicetown. I'll have a link in the description below for these curtains and also for every piece of soundproofing material that I talk about in this video. Just a quick pause. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing to my channel. Also, if you have any soundproofing questions, leave me a comment and I will answer all of your questions. It does really help my channel by people leaving comments. Thank you very much. Another good sound absorber are, of course, sound absorbing panels. Sound absorbing panels do a great job in soaking up the noise by preventing it from bouncing from wall to wall. They do nothing regarding noise blocking, however. They're strictly for absorption. You can buy panels that are self-adhesive, but you can also place them temporarily on the wall if you're only going to soundproof a room for a short period. This is usually the case if you're renting an apartment. There's a product on the market called command strips that will hang the panels on the wall and leave no damage after removal. All you do is stick a command strip onto each corner of the back of the sound absorbing panel and then press the edges of the panel on the wall for 30 seconds. You will have no trouble taking them down and they shouldn't fall off the wall if you follow these steps. And the last thing I would use to absorb sound are furniture. There are certain types of furniture that soaks up noise better than others. Just an example, firm leather sofas and chairs will not absorb sound as good as a plush couch made of fabric. Also, a large rug in the room will help in drowning out the echoes. So now that you've got rid of all the echo in your room, it's time to soundproof the window. The window is another spot where noise will be coming in because of gaps and cracks, and of course a window isn't as good as blocking noise as a wall. Soundproofing a window doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. I will quickly highlight different steps you can take to ensure the maximum noise blocking from your window. I also have a full video about soundproofing windows that goes deeper into details about how to do it like a pro. One of the first things I usually suggest, if at all possible, is to block the window in the room you're soundproofing completely. Of course, this is not an option for most people and might only be a good idea if you're using the soundproof room as a media room for video and sound recording. If you're not going to block the window, why not replace it with a double or triple pane window? If you're willing to dish out a little bit more cash to soundproof a room, then you could afford a complete window switch. A double or triple pane window, if adequately installed, can reduce noise from coming into the room by up to 60%. In addition to giving you some good noise blocking, a double or triple pane window works excellently as temperature control. These windows will keep the soundproof room cool in the summer and warm in the winter, and you'll save money on your energy bill at the same time. A much cheaper option than blocking or replacing the window is by adding an extra layer of acrylic over the existing window. Acrylic will reduce the amount of noise trying to pass through the window. What's nice with an acrylic layer is that it is transparent and will not block light from coming into the soundproof room. This method will block a small amount of noise. Perhaps this would be enough if you do not have much noise to block when combining this method with installing thick blinds or soundproof curtains. And finally, on the window, seal the gaps. I've already stated that even the smallest gaps or cracks will let sound inside a room. It is therefore essential to ensure that all the gaps around the windows are sealed. Depending on how or when the window installation was done, there could very well be gaps, especially around the edges due to aging or poor insulation. You may decide to seal these first and then see if it solves the noise issue. There are a couple of ways you can go about this. The easiest way is by using noise-proofing caulk around the window to reseal it. This type of caulking is very pliable, so it won't crack over time and let noise through. You can also use adhesive tape around the window. It's a self-adhesive seal strip that is very easy to install. I like how it can also endure about any type of weather, and you can simply cut it to fit whatever dimensions you need. If this option does not do it for you, you can also get a window insulator kit. The kit is a variety of material you would use to insulate between 3 to 5 windows. Just like the adhesive tape and caulking, these are also simple to install, and the rolls come with an assortment of sizes. Now the next thing after the window to soundproof is certainly the door. The door is the biggest hole in the room you're soundproofing, so it is critical that we have a method to reduce as much noise coming from the entryway. There are a few ways to soundproof a door. I will quickly give you some examples as to how to get this done. One example is to simply install a solid core door. Most interior doors throughout your house will most likely be a hollow core door. A hollow core door is a door that is hollow on the inside and is made with thin sheets of wood. A hollow core door will do very little in sound reduction. One easy fix is by installing a solid core door. You will most likely see solid core doors as a door that leads outside, but you can definitely install one inside. Some of the solid core doors are made of solid wood and look really good. A solid core door will cost a bit more than $100, but can be very costly if you choose a fancy one. You can just go to your nearest hardware store and look around at your options. So after swapping out the doors, if you chose to do that, you should seal the bottom of the door with a door sweep. Door sweeps are inexpensive yet extremely important when soundproofing a room. A solid core door will do little regarding noise reduction if you have a gap spanning the entire length of the bottom of the door. Even a small crack will let a large amount of noise inside the room. You can also install a complete door seal. Door seals can work very well if installed correctly. I have a full tutorial on how to install a door seal on my website. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. You can also place a rubber gasket around the door. Rubber gaskets will fill the cracks on both sides of the door and ensure the door closes much more tightly. This is a relatively cheap solution if the door is loose when fully closed. If the door wobbles to the touch or from a gust of wind when it is closed, then there is definitely a gap you need to fill. Filling this gap with rubber gaskets will only take a few minutes because they are most likely self-adhesive and easy to install. Don't forget to clean the surface for the gasket to stick easier. Make sure the gasket that you buy is not too thick, as the door will be difficult to close or simply won't close at all. Another thing you can do to the door is add some mass loading vinyl. There is a product called mass loading vinyl and could be very helpful when trying to soundproof a room. The one setback, however, is that it is expensive and quite ugly on the eyes. Mass loading vinyl is very easy to apply because they typically have a self-adhesive layer on one side. All you do is unroll and cut to size so it fits perfectly on the door. This would work on both a hollow and solid core door. I have a full video about mass loading vinyl on my channel. And another way to soundproof the door would be soundproof blankets. Like I mentioned before, soundproof blankets would do an excellent job in reducing the amount of noise coming into the room. If installing a solid core door proves to be too expensive, then a soundproof blanket is your next best thing. It is all about introducing extra mass in front of the door, and a soundproof blanket will do just that. Some soundproof blankets are especially made to soundproof a door. They are the right shape and size to match the size of the entryway perfectly. There are certainly more ways to go about soundproofing the door, but these are the choices I would put more focus into. I have a full video about soundproofing doors with many more options to choose from on my channel. So now that we've taken care of the windows and doors, now it's time to move into the walls. And the most common problems of a room you're probably trying to soundproof are thin walls. There are many ways to remedy the problem that thin walls can create. Some can be cheap and some are a bit more expensive and would probably need hired help. If you live in an apartment and can't really tear down the wall, or you just don't really want to do that in your own house, using a bookshelf as a noise blocker is not something I hear too often, but it is a solution that can work quite well. If you have a wall with no doors or windows on it, then a bookshelf could work. The idea is to build a built-in bookshelf that would encompass the entire wall. I would suggest placing a sheet of 5-8 inches drywall between the wall and the bookshelf to make it even more soundproof, because the books and decoration will most likely not cover the entire wall. Build the bookshelf from one end of the room to the other and from floor to ceiling. This method only works if you have enough books to fill the shelf, of course. The thickness of the books will add an additional thick barrier between you and the noisy room next to the room you're trying to soundproof. Installing a bookshelf is a DIY job that won't break the bank and will serve as not only for noise reduction, but storage as well. If there are some empty spaces on the bookshelf, consider installing cupboard doors that would fit the bookshelf and help eliminate the transfer of noise from the other room. If a bookshelf doesn't work for you, another option is add an extra layer of drywall. Adding more mass to the wall will help in making a soundproof room. The type of drywall you should add is 5-8 inches thick. The combined thickness versus the regular drywall in most homes will not only help block noise, but will make your wall look better by reducing the chances of it from bowing. Placing a layer of drywall can be daunting if you're not confident in your construction abilities, but it's really not that difficult. A couple of suggestions is, first, ask for help. One sure way to make the job of thickening a wall is by having a helper with you while doing the job. Lifting and placing the drywall works 1,000 times better with 2 people. Second is using green glue. Green glue is a soundproofing compound that resembles caulking. Buy a couple of tubes of green glue and apply it on the side of the drywall that will be against the existing wall. Apply the green glue in a random zigzag pattern so you have a higher chance of getting some all over the drywall. By adding an extra layer of drywall, you will notice a reduction of noise transfer from the adjoining room. You're not done yet, however, the next steps work in conjunction with the drywall in giving you a better soundproofing. First, fill the gaps and cracks. One of the necessary steps some people would think is irrelevant can be the most crucial steps when it comes to soundproofing, that is finding all the small gaps and cracks on the wall and seal them. Begin by removing all the electrical outlet covers. Inspect inside the rectangle metal box if the sides between the box and the wall are sealed or if there is a small open gap. Most of the time there will be an open gap because most builders do not place importance on such small noise reduction details. There are two ways to go about this depending if the room you're soundproofing is finished or unfinished. With an unfinished room, before the drywall is up and the electrical boxes are exposed, there is a product called putty pad you can use to wrap the box entirely. By covering the box with putty pad, you will be sealing all the holes and gaps. This fix is not dangerous in terms of a fire hazard because putty pads are made for this type of soundproofing and works great. If you're soundproofing a finished room, you will not be able to put the putty pad since you only have access to the front of the electrical box. That's perfectly fine because you can seal the gap between the electrical box and the wall with some green glue noise proofing compound. Even something like Flex Seal would most likely do the trick, but I would buy the green glue if I had the choice between both products. The only thing though is that the noise proofing compound will not seal the entire electrical box. The holes behind the outlet will remain open, but at least it will help concerning soundproofing a room. After you've sealed the electrical outlet, it's time to seal around the windows and baseboards. You might not have to do the baseboards, but it is always prudent to do so because you never know how much sound is bleeding through the bottom section. All you would need to seal would be between the floor and baseboards. You can do to the ceilings what we just did to the walls. Another great way to soundproof the wall, and this also works very well on the ceiling, is by installing a resilient channel and then another sheet of drywall over it. You might be wondering, what is a resilient channel? Resilient channel is a thin metal channel that is designed to substantially improve the sound insulation of drywall, sheetrock, plasterboard walls, and ceilings. The channel efficiently isolates drywall from the framing stud work, which results in substantially weakening the sound waves. This is done by leaving an air gap between your existing ceiling or wall and your new ceiling or wall. Air is a great sound isolator. If you're installing the resilient channel using clips, you will need to screw the clips onto the joist. You can easily find the ceiling joist with a stud finder. Install clips 48 inches between the clips and 24 inches between the channel and within 6 inches from the side walls. Once the clips are installed, simply snap your resilient channel into the clips. If you have any fixtures or air vents, you will need to lower them to fit the new ceiling height. When you expose the electrical boxes for your light fixtures, make sure to place a putty pad around the electrical box because sound can travel there if there are vibrations from people walking above. Also, if you have an air conditioning vents, you should stick some metal dampening strips inside to lower the sound transfer that would be coming from the vent. And now that the resilient channel is installed, it's time to install some sound deadening drywall. Make sure to use screws that are maximum 1.5 inches long as we do not want the screws to touch the joist. Make sure to use the soundproof caulking to fill any holes or cracks. So there you have it. Hope you found this information very useful. Please let us know in the comment section below what options you chose and how it's working for you. We would love to hear any new ideas that could potentially get the job done easier and also cheaper. Every item that I talked about in this video can be found in the description below as a link to either their website or an Amazon link so you can easily find it and go buy it for yourself. Also, if you like this type of content, consider subscribing to our channel. We would love to have you as a subscriber. Having more subscribers, likes, and comments makes our channel more successful. So anything you can do to help us, we really appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.